And we've got a great guest this first hour. His name is Joe Murdie. He lives in Wānaka. And the best way I can describe him, apart from being a brilliant cinematographer, is that he's a creative thinking, whiskey drinking, swan dry wearing kind of guy who's got an extensive background working on news and broadcast. And he's just, he just thinks outside the square. He founded a company called The Film Crew in Wānaka, and he's also a massive foodie, plus also writes a column on cigars, if I'm correct. I must talk to him about that shortly. So I thought we'd talk to him about what draws creatives into Wānaka and why it is such a special place for that and what inspires him and some of the projects that he's working on at the moment. But yeah, he is a film enthusiast and just an all-round great guy. We can't play the whole track because there's a bit of profanity in it because, of course, that is the type of band they were. But yeah, Joe probably, I don't know what, I'll just sit across to him now and see what he makes of that. Joe, did you catch that snippet?
Yeah, I did.
Where does that take you to? What time and place does that take you back to?
Yeah, that's quite interesting. That's the third, I guess you'd call it, third rendition of Fuel Set. There's a few changes over the years. There's a big name change, and then that was kind of the second album as Fuel Set, which kind of saw the band amalgamate with another band that we've been touring with quite a bit called Uproar, and that's the singer on that album there. Yeah, something different.
It is. It's good aggression. I like it.
Yeah, there's a fair bit of that.
yeah, of course. And I mean, but we're here to talk about film and what you get up to in Wānaka, and it just got me thinking a bit about what attracts creatives like yourself to this part of the world, because I mean, you grew up in South Auckland, Joe, and
I did.
Yeah, so how did your journey bring you to the deep south?
I guess like a lot of people, it started in snow sports. That was kind of my forte into the region. I used to go to Queenstown for snowboarding holidays, and then Queenstown started getting a bit busy and a bit crazy for us, and we started getting older and relaxing more on the Wānaka side. And then I guess just, the landscape and things as a cinematographer, it was always stood out to me as a place that I'd like to be based. And when that opportunity came up, I kind of jumped at it and relocated here as a permanent stay. So.
When was that? How long ago was that?
That was about 6.5 years ago now.
Plus, I guess, everywhere you point a camera here, it's amazing. So there's got to be that lure. If you're a film and camera guy, I mean, this is nirvana for you, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. The natural landscape's amazing, and like you say, you can't kind of go wrong with where you point the camera. But there's also a big and well-established, film and photography base here, which, it's one of the hubs of New Zealand film. And I think that, while it might be small in terms of population, it's not in terms of film and creative arts. So.
It's funny because when I said I was speaking with you, Michael Law says, "Oh, are you involved in the Wānaka, film studio project?" But you're not, are you?
No, not involved in the Silverlight project.
Don't need to be, really.
No, I don't know where that's at, but no, that's kind of a whole nother side of it again, I guess.
I think everyone, I don't know, it's been hyped a bit in the media, so everyone talks about that. But for you, so you came here, you founded the Film Crew Limited, and you've focused on a whole bunch of different content. So, I know that we worked together a few years ago on a documentary, but you were doing a lot of food TV as well. Is that still a passion of yours?
Yeah, I mean, I have kind of fallen into food stuff over the years. I've done a few food travel shows for TV around America and Southeast Asia, as well as New Zealand, obviously. But yeah, I enjoy food. I enjoy, cooking, filming people that are really good at cooking and getting to sample their food afterwards is never a bad thing. So that kind of just happened naturally. It wasn't like I set out to get into that part of the industry, I guess. But I do enjoy you know, the
process,
food style of stuff, and enjoy watching people that are talented at anything, but especially chefs that are creating stuff from scratch and making amazing things. So.
Plus, Wānaka is full of interesting chefs. And actually, can you remind me of the name of that incredible restaurant? I don't know if it's still going, that it was very hard to get into for a while.
Oh, there's been a few.
You know, the one with the... they had a really different philosophy. They were upstairs and they had, they do small courses.
Ode. Yeah, so that was Ode. That was Chef Lucas. He's gone back up north, and two, I call them young guys, but they're not really, but they've worked their way up under James Stapley here and gone out on their own and opened a restaurant called Mutton Bird in the same location, which is also fantastic. So.
Have they? In Wānaka?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah, and James Stapley's new one's Arc, and that's also amazing. And, of course, Bistro on Tea is never
bad.
Never a disappointment.
No.
So, yeah.
Wow. Oh, so Mutton Bird, that's a great name for a restaurant.
Yeah.
Oh, that'll be interesting.
They're doing amazing things. They're kind of a different approach on food. You know, it's kind of fine dining, but extremely relaxed about it. Yeah,
which suits our psyche. It's funny, you know, because I spoke to Al Brown on Friday, and you know him from Depot and Federal Street, and he's just such a down-to-earth chap, and he was saying New Zealanders don't like fuss, and they really, that whole fine dining thing is sort of past, and we want to be real and relaxed.
Yeah, that's right. You know, I think you want to be looked after and have an experience, but ultimately it's about the flavour and the textures and the enjoyment, right? And if you go too far into that sort of fine dining, you get a little bit too stiff, I guess. And yeah, it's just not really us, I guess.
No. And so Joe, I love in your bio how you're described as a whiskey drinking, swan dry wearing kind of guy, which is true because I remember your red and black swan dry vividly. And is that still a big part of your wardrobe?
Yeah, I'm actually rocking one of the original green ones nowadays. But, you know, I had, you know, down here it gets cold. Wool's a good thing to wear, and I don't know, I like the relaxedness of that sort of dress. I don't want to, you know, I've been in corporate places, I've worn suits and things, and I just don't really want to.
No, and you don't have to, which is cool. Plus, I mean, are you doing much work in the mountains at the moment? You know, sort of extreme shoots like that?
Yes and no. So I kind of, being in this area, you do work in the mountains a lot. When I first kind of came down here, I think like most people, I did a lot with snow sports and stuff, but less of that nowadays, and it's more kind of in the mountains for a reason if you're telling a story about it, but a lot less time up above the snow line than, you know, people that do the snowboarding filming and the ski filming and things. I don't really do a lot of that anymore.
But do you manage to get up there much yourself? You're pretty passionate about boarding, aren't you? Or no time now?
Yeah, I kind of say I used to be a snowboarder. I haven't actually been for like the last 3 years, but I think that's kind of a combination of not great seasons and then not a lot of time, and also COVID obviously has kind of made things a bit trickier. But yeah, no, I'm planning to get back up this year and do a few runs. It's really just a casual hobby for me nowadays, but I like going hiking and going out the back and just going for a walk by myself and then snowboarding down a hill, or, you know, just a couple of mates, and, you know, staying away from the crowds.
Yeah, not going to those organised formal fields where it's all a bit like a McDonald's. Yeah, I guess so, yeah. Yeah, I hear you. I went through the Lindis recently, and there was a snowboarder there, and he was just hiking up and having some beautiful runs. It was gorgeous.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, you don't get to snowboard through there very often.
No, it was just fantastic. I sort of had to stop, and I was just like, wow, is he? Yeah, he is really doing that, you know. Yeah, wonderful. So let's go right back. So why, you know, like, because when you were little, you took to a camera when you were quite young, didn't you? What was it that sort of switched you on to film and photography?
I did. I mean, as far back as I can remember, I was always sort of taking photos and playing with cameras. I kind of I think I like it from a few angles. I like the technical aspect of operating cameras, but then also the creative aspect of crafting an image from nothing, I suppose. I got a little Pentax DSLR, SLR obviously back then, film camera that I used to carry everywhere with me and take photos of anything, mostly rubbish, I imagine, but it was always there.
Did you photograph like your family or your friends, or was it more like things in the street?
Yeah, all sorts, family and friends and events and
Nice.
Skateboarding a lot. Kind of studied press photography in a way and kind of went that direction, but what I really loved about still photography was more the black and white stuff and the darkroom work and working with negative. And when that kind of got phased out of being the mainstream, I lost a bit of passion for the still side of things and really just fell into filmmaking, which was by chance and kind of just lined up with things I was passionate about, so it kind of worked really well. Yeah.
So you did your time in news. You mentioned that. So you were with MediaWorks, weren't you?
Well, I contracted to TVNZ.
Oh, okay.
So I did a bit with 7 Sharp and a bit with TVNZ News. But I have done contract work for most of the news platforms throughout New Zealand over the years.
What did you make of it when you were in that zone? Did you find it rewarding or did you find it really restrictive?
A bit of both. It's not kind of mutually exclusive, I guess. And the amazing thing that I got from the likes of 7 Sharp is that, being kind of a OPC or a one-person operator, being able to do sound and audio, capture what I need to tell a story and cut a story together ready to air that same day. It's that fast turnaround, but has to be cohesive. It needs to tell an actual story, and I think that was something that you learn really quickly when you're doing short pieces of story every single day,
right?
That you probably don't get through many other mediums, but those sort of short news type pieces, that's all they are, so that's kind of your focus. But what I didn't like about it was also that same thing. You had a day to shoot something really quickly. You had to cut it together. You couldn't necessarily get super creative with your shots and how you were capturing things. You were doing it mostly on your own, so you didn't have time for lighting or, that sort of carry on. So it was less artistically creative, but very good for factual storytelling.
And also, I guess, look, it's another skill, isn't it? I mean, it's just one of many things that you've done. And I agree with you, though, having worked in TV news too, and after a while, you're just like, this could be so brilliant, but we're up against a deadline, and in the end, it's going to be edited together really, really quickly, and it's just that rip, bleep, and bust kind of, philosophy. So you edit, like you do everything, Joe. I mean, it's phenomenal. So, people can come to you and say, they want to make something, they want a high quality doco, anything, a music video. You're an editor, you're a shooter, you edit, you light, and you've got that brilliant, it's busy for you, isn't it?
It is definitely busy. I mean, I consider myself a cinematographer, so camera and lighting is my passion and my forte. I have done a lot of editing over the years. I've done editing on jobs that I haven't shot. I've done contract editing for TV series, a lot of my own doco editing stuff. So I can do editing. It's not a focus. It's kind of, if I'm the right editor for the job, then I'll edit it. But, nowadays I like to work with people that are passionate about the role that they take in the process, just like I am with the cinematography. So the ideal scenario for me is working with a producer or an executive producer or part of a bigger crew, having someone that's going to edit it that's a passionate editor, and I get to focus on the capturing of the visuals and the way that the image looks. But that's not to say that, some projects, I do have to do visual and audio and edit it. And as long as I'm passionate about the project, I'm okay with that. Yeah.
Yeah, good point. So how important is it to you then to have the right people around you, with the people that you're working with, people who are of a similar mindset?
Yeah, I think that's extremely important, right? If you're producing a piece of content and, the director and the DP are on different pages, then it's just going to clash and it's, not going to be the best result. I think the team, right from, concept through to editing, have to all have kind of the same idea in mind, but each of them be able to bring something that the others don't think about to their particular area. And when that happens, that's when you get great quality content, If the experts of their individual parts are all bringing their best, then the overall result's the best it can be.
Yeah. So you are would you describe yourself as a perfectionist?
Yeah, it's a hard thing to say, I guess. I wouldn't normally go out and say I'm a perfectionist, but for me it's more about I want every project that I work on to be better than the one before it, So
you're a perfectionist, Joe.
To make sure.
Take it from me, you are. Yeah, because I've seen the energy that you put into one project, and I don't work with you every day, but I think you couldn't do what you do and get those results without wanting everything to be just so, and putting in that time to get it right. Yep.
Yeah, well, that's it. It's important to me that it's done right. There's nothing I dislike more than cutting corners on a production, and sometimes you have to, but it just never sits well with me. I prefer to not. But when you start getting into the areas of budget constraints and timelines and commissioning and things, then there's certain things that you just have to live with. But I prefer to have as much time and do things as properly as possible wherever I can.
When you look back and you think about yourself as a little kid, with that camera, do you pinch yourself sometimes and go, wow, hey, I've got a pretty amazing life here in Wānaka? Does it strike you that way?
Yeah, sometimes I do have to step back and kind of think, I take note of what you've done. I think as New Zealanders, we all kind of have a habit of not celebrating our successes, To me, I often still think that I'm still learning. I'm still in this phase of, I'm not where I want to be yet, and I need to do this, and I need to develop this, and you get into a cycle of just pushing all the time and forget that, hey, if we just step back and take a minute, we've actually done some really cool things here. But I think that's, again, part of that desire for every next project to be better than the one before it, When I finish a project, I'm kind of already thinking about the next one, and I'm not often taking the time that I probably should to enjoy
the results.
Yeah,
well, yeah.
Exactly.
Well, this is it, right? So you don't want a life that's that squeezed that you can't finish something and sit back, maybe get a nice glass of whiskey, maybe get a cigar, put your feet up and go, hey, that I am super happy with that,
Yeah, that's it. And, I am. There's a lot of stuff that I put out that I'm really happy with, and I'm like, yeah, that's awesome. And down the track, I'm still really happy with it. But no, I'm definitely guilty of not taking enough time or not putting enough emphasis on celebrating those ones and things,
So has Wānaka treated you well? Like, is there anywhere else that you feel you could do the work that you do now? Any other part of the country?
No, Wānaka's an amazing place, and it's amazing in a really unusual way, I would say. So, to me, the biggest asset of Wānaka as a creative place, outside of its natural beauty that we can film, is actually its collaboration. So nowhere else that I've worked in the world is the level of collaboration that I see in the Wānaka community.
Okay.
And it's like competition almost doesn't exist between production companies. You know, we're all living in a small place and working on projects bigger than what the area should really be working on for the most part. And we'll band together, and, you know, there'll be people from 4 or 5 different production companies working together on one production, because that's where you need the crew to make it work. And it's just this, you know, I mean, I've been hired by Auckland production companies to fly to Auckland and shoot something that they couldn't do because they don't want to give it to another Auckland production company. You know,
really?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I get flown to Christchurch for similar things quite a bit too as well. But in Wānaka, you know, I get calls from other production companies, and I've called other production companies and said, "Hey, look, I can't do this. Are you guys able to do it? You know, I'll just pass them on to you." And that sort of stuff I have not seen before working in Wānaka. And I think that that's a really big asset to the creative industry, because we can all grow and shrink and be adaptive and work together to, you know, achieve any kind of project that comes along.
It's a true community in Wānaka, much more so than you'll ever get in Queenstown. And I say that as a Queenstown resident. You feel the difference. You go over the Crown Range, it's a very, very different feel in every way.
Yeah, it still has that small town attitude in a way, but in a good way, you know. It's not,
yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's not been diluted yet.
Mm-hmm. You know, it's funny because we worked on that developers series, and there were lots of things happening like North Lake and big subdivisions in Wānaka. Do you have a personal take on the way Wānaka is developing at the moment? Is it too much?
I think development is necessary. I think, and a lot of my learnings that I took from making that production with you, I think that it's the way that we're developing that's the problem. It's the outdated processes and this requirement for a subdivision to be bland and boxy. I think that's kind of what's really letting things down nationwide, not just in Wānaka. But I would like to see changes to the RMA to allow people to be a bit more creative and build, you know, little villages that work as a community within a community, rather than just endless seas of tiny, narrow streets that you can't park on. And but, you know,
and houses that look the same.
Yeah, that's right. Ultimately, the developers make more money if they put more houses in there. So I don't know how that's ever going to change. But yeah, I mean, development is inevitable and required. You know, I think a lot of the struggles that Queenstown has seen, Wānaka has the opportunity to avoid, but only if we let development happen. If we try and stop development from happening, then we end up with the people coming anyway, but not the infrastructure there to support them.
It's a really, really smart point you make, actually, because you can't stop it, can you? That's right.
No, exactly. If people want to move here, they'll move here. There's not a lot anyone can do about that, and why should we, you know? The amount of land we have in New Zealand per person compared to most places in the world is insane. So we're not in that, you know, position where we should be whinging about how many people there are at a place. It's about the facilities that we need to manage the people that's the problem.
But we still do whinge, don't we?
Yeah, of course. Everybody likes a good whinge, Leanne.
Yeah. We do that, don't we? And yet there's still so many sheep and still there's still so much bare land, like you say.
Yeah, oh yeah, miles of it.
Yeah. At least in Wānaka, you don't have all those rental cars on the approach to the airport, which is a really unsightly view for tourists. They must think, what is this place? You know?
Yeah.
Oh, that to me was just, I don't know. I mean, anyone who's listening right now and who's flown in here recently on a clear day will know what I'm talking about. And then, of course, you also fly over all those developments, you know, on that low, flat, lying land, which also makes it look not as beautiful as it should be, because it is such a, you know, no question, Queenstown and Wānaka are beautiful. I actually feel, Actually, I need to take a poll. I think Wānaka probably more so because the lake is right there and it's more accessible in Queenstown. Like the beautiful thing when you drive into Wānaka is it just opens up and it's like, and it is a wow. And do you still get that sort of thrill sometimes when you look at a particular scene, you know, on an amazing day and you go, that is so nice?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's easy to get a little complacent about it, you know, when you're living and working here. But all it takes is a change of season and things. You know, we get actual seasons down here, as you know. So, you know, when autumn hits and everything just massive colours, and then, you know, the snowfall comes, and especially like the other day, snow like down to lake level is pretty unusual in Wānaka. So things like that happening, you can't kind of help but stop and take a look. So yeah, no, I definitely still get that, but yeah, you do.
you just go,
become slightly immune to it, but
ho hum, another beautiful day. Yeah. Oh, it's so awful here. Yeah, that's the point. You know, it's funny, but they are chalk and cheese, Queenstown and Wānaka, and I think it's really great. I mean, I suspect that I don't know whether you pine to come to Queenstown, but I certainly get this urge to it feels almost like escaping to Wānaka because there's a quieter feel, a less frenetic vibe around the town, you know.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, over, you know, the last couple of years with COVID, the main centre of Queenstown's been so quiet. You can drive down there and just get a car park and walk along the lake edge. And I mean, that's been amazing. And I have found myself kind of going over there and enjoying that. I think what Queenstown's done so well is that whole area around the lakefront. You know, in Wānaka, the closest you get to the lakefront with any kind of infrastructure is across the road and off of it. So there's almost a disconnect, I feel, from the township to the lakefront in Wānaka, whereas in Queenstown it really feels like your town is on the lake.
That's true.
So, you know, it's not all bad over there. You know,
Thank you, Joe. Thank you very much. That's one tick. There we go. To all the Queenstown haters, because there's a lot of them. Yeah, you know, there's a lot of them. Hey, now, Joe, I'm hoping that you can spare a bit longer because I want to talk to you about punk, and I want to talk to you about cigars and craft beer. Okay. So can we take a break for a punk kind of song? And then come back to you. Yeah, and you can replenish your coffee and just 3 minutes, and then we'll come back and chat some more. All right, stand by for this. It's an old one, but it's the Sex Pistols anyway. Well, it's very old punk, but it is still punk in a way. Sex Pistols, Joe, do you enjoy that all right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I like it too. I do, and I played that because obviously your band wasn't punk. The the early days with Fuel Set, it was, what would you describe that as? Death metal?
Yeah. I mean, most of the bands that I was in kind of seriously were kind of hard rock through to metal and a bit of hardcore, which is where the punk influence kind of came in. But as I sort of said the other day, now I'm in a very, very lazy band, which is just punk covers. We don't gig. We hardly ever practice. But
you got a band.
You know, still a band.
Actually, do you know what? Me too. I'm in a band, but we haven't played for 6 months. It's like, really? Yeah. But that's okay. We can still say that we're in a band, but mine isn't punk. So do you have a name?
No, we don't actually. No, we haven't got that far.
Okay. How many people in it?
It is a 4-piece.
Right.
So I play guitar. We've got a basser, a drummer, and then a backing guitar and vocalist. Oh,
you need to come over to Queenstown and play some live gigs.
Yeah. We'd have to practice often enough that we remember the songs we learned for that.
Yeah, this is the problem, isn't it? And it's like you try and get a practice happening at the moment. It's like, oh no, he's got COVID. No, he's got the flu. Oh no, he's you know. And so you're just like, oh, it's so hard to kind of get any kind of flow right now in the world, I find. You know.
Yeah, that's right. And I mean, for us, it's just, 3 of the 4 of us own our own business, so we're all just flat out all the time, and really it's just a case of when we've all got a moment, we get together and have a jam, and it's good fun, and that's kind of, I think, what we all want out of it at this stage.
And and that's what it kind of should be, because sometimes when you get the pressure of bookings and things, it all becomes really hard work. and stressful.
Mm-hmm.
And music isn't that. Music's an outlet, isn't it?
Should be, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Should be. And so what kind of songs do you cover? Would I know any of the bands?
Yeah, absolutely. Like we do Rocket Man.
What?
And so we do punk covers of songs that aren't punk covers, but it's quite funny because there's a band called Me First and the Gimme Gimmes, which do exactly that and have done for a long time.
Yeah.
So when we set out, we're like, we're only going to do covers of Me First and the Gimme Gimmes, which are a covers band.
Covers of covers. Oh,
covers of covers, but that's how we set out. But we've changed that a bit, and we've kind of, I guess, written our own punk versions of a few songs and things like that. But yeah, it's all classic stuff that you know, but done in punk style.
I'd love to hear that. Punk Elton. Punk Elton.
Yeah.
How can you do that fast? I mean, that would really improve that song, I think, in many ways.
Look up Me First and the Gimme Gimmes. You'll have a good laugh.
I will. Me First and the Gimme Gimmes. What? Okay, Shane, the producer, says he's got 5 of their albums. What?
Yep, they've been going for a long time.
I've never heard of them. I love their name.
Yeah.
What? Me First and the Gimme Gimmes.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm definitely going to. That sounds like me. It sounds hilarious. So that's an interest, and that's a nice outlet for you. That happens pretty rarely. But I know, are you still doing the column writing about cigars for a magazine?
Yeah. Yep. So I'm the only premium cigar reviewer in New Zealand.
You're a unique chap.
I've got a website. So when it first started out, it was writing reviews for a men's magazine, but I left there quite some time ago. And then I was doing the reviews directly for Canteros New Zealand, which is one of the largest importers. But the Ministry of Health clamped down on that because it's considered advertising. So now I have my own site that I do the reviews on, and bunch of
how do people find
readers.
that? Well, that's good. How I'll just let listeners know.
It's called thecolddraw.co.nz. So people, cigar people, they'll know what the cold draw is. That's basically when you taste the cigar before you light it to see sort of what natural tobacco flavours you're getting.
Okay.
So that's where the site is.
Nice. And and how many readers would you have? Do you reckon? Do you have any idea?
It's not like I don't post in a structure. It's kind of when I get time, I pump out a few reviews. So I think there's a few hundred members on there at the moment, and that's kind of the core people on the mailing list. Like, it's not a big industry in New Zealand.
Yeah, it's nice that you're the only one, the premium cigar reviewer.
Yeah.
And you also, do you have, when you smoke a cigar, would you generally have a nice whiskey with you as well?
Yeah, quite often, yep. I mean, I guess for me, because I am a cigar smoker, to me there's multiple different times and reasons I'll have a cigar. But yeah, sitting and having a glass of whiskey and a cigar is a very nice, relaxing way of having a cigar. And when I do the reviews, I'll usually have a little drink of something to go with it because it gets you just to sit and relax and focus on what you're doing.
That's right.
But yeah, also if I'm, working on the house or working on the car or something like that, or doing mundane tasks, I like to have a cigar while I do that also. So it's kind of...
Okay. Yeah. So you equate that with kind of zoning out, taking time sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's kind of just stepping away for a minute.
Yeah. And in that case, how can it not be good for you? I ask.
Yeah, well,
yeah, really.
That's the argument that the big tobacco have been going with for years, I think.
That's true. But it is a very specialised area, the cigar, isn't it? I remember, didn't Queenstown used to have the cigar bar years ago in the 90s?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, even not that long ago, there was that Cuban bar opposite Bardo.
Yes.
Yeah, opposite there, that they used to have a humidor in there and sell cigars. I don't know if they still do. But Moe's is quite cigar friendly, although it's only a small balcony. The owner of Moe's is into cigars, and there's a few places around you can go and have a cigar.
Have a cigar, yeah, nice. And so, and also along those lines, is craft beer one of your big faves too? I mean, Wānaka's got a great brewery.
Yeah, for sure. Wānaka's, I think, and I probably shouldn't quote this on radio, but anyway, there's supposedly more craft breweries in Wānaka per capita than anywhere in the world prior to since Prohibition.
Far out.
So, whether or not that's true, we've got one brewery per 1,000 people in Wānaka.
I was thinking when I said you've got a great brewery, I meant rhyme and reason. But I mean, yeah,
rhyme and reason.
Yeah, but I didn't know this. I didn't know. That's incredible. That stat.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I say, don't quote me on the validity of that, but that's what I've heard.
Well, it's a great. Perhaps Wānaka could be marketing itself not just for beauty, but also for these special things, these unique things. Seriously.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's Wānaka Beer Works has been, I think, over 25 years brewing here now. They're one of the original craft breweries in the country. And, they're just up the road in Wānaka, and I think hardly anyone seems to know about it. But
yeah, no, I haven't heard of that either. So, and so, are you partial to just one brand, or do you like to just give lots of different craft beer a try? When if you're out?
I like to try all sorts. Absolutely, I don't like to just stick to one thing. I like to try different things. And this time of year, I like stouts and porters, and then in the summer, I like sours and hazies and things like that. So, yeah, kind of West Coast IPAs are making a big comeback, which is a clear IPA. But, yeah, no, I just, whatever I feel at the time, but variety is
spice of life.
I enjoy. I don't want the same thing all the time.
Yeah. No, that's true. So what are you knee deep in at the moment, Joe, in terms of a big project that you're working on that you can share with us, or is it top secret?
Well, yeah, no, I guess we've got quite a lot on at the moment, but one that is kind of fresh and exciting in terms of public knowledge is a documentary called Restoring AEU, and it's a documentary about a guy, Don, here in Wānaka, who is fully restoring a 1936 Staggerwing plane, which was brought by St John, New Zealand, as New Zealand's first air ambulance.
Oh, okay.
So it flew polio patients around the country for fast transport. Then it served in World War II for New Zealand, and then ended up being sold to a farm in Australia, and then was crashed and put under a house for 50 years in about 1,000 pieces. And he's gone and found it, and he's fully restoring it. So it's a pretty cool little story. And that's one that we're in principal photography on at the moment. So we just put out a teaser the other week, but it's kind of going to be going on for another 12, 13 months, I would imagine.
That is a big job.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's fabulous.
It's a fun one.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it would be.
Yeah.
And what about music vids? Do you do a lot of things for bands?
Yes. When I first sort of started in film, I did a lot of music videos and kind of had a name for doing music videos. I've done a few for Devil Skin, which is probably the most well-known band that I've worked with a number of times. But then recently kind of fallen back into doing a few. I actually just shot one on the weekend for a pair of 16-year-olds from that put out some amazing music, and they're called Spoken, and they're actually opening for Holly Smith in Queenstown this Thursday.
Are they?
Yonder.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so I shot a video with them on the weekend, and that's pretty awesome. And I've just finished one for Anna Van Reel, which is kind of like a Wānaka folk legend. But she also does like children's music, and it's a nostalgic Christmas song that will be released later this year. That's just been finished production.
They must have felt odd doing that in the middle of the year, a Christmas song.
Yeah. it's one of those things, when you need it to be released for Christmas, you have to shoot it. So we shot it over summer because it's a summer video. But yeah, it's all ready to go now for the build-up.
Yeah, brilliant. And I guess it's perfect for you as a music man to be behind the lens for videos. Do you think there's a trend back to towards more simplicity with music videos?
I think it's very creative, right? Music videos for a cinematographer are kind of a 3.5 minute way of doing things however you like, almost. You have creative freedom in a music video more so than anything other than, like drama, fantasy and stuff like that, where you can be extremely off the wall. But music videos, you can have so many different styles, you can shoot things in different ways, and it's not unusual for music videos to be over the top in terms of production. But in terms of going back, there is some of that, there's retro is big at the moment in lots of ways. And that kind of, and like I say, this Christmas video we just did is kind of an 80s nostalgic piece in a way. It's, bonfires on the beach and hanging out at their crib and things like that. So yeah, there's a bit of that, but I think it's track dependent. The difference between that Christmas video through to the one we just did for the Spoken, the young duo, are miles apart in terms of how they look and feel. The Spoken one's all really kind of modern lighting. It's all studio-based, projected, moving images and stuff onto projections and unusual scenes. So
be fun, really fun to make these.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's what I mean. Like it's fun as a cinematographer to work on music videos because the creativity is kind of endless.
Yeah, that's right. And this is what you do so well.